December 1968. In Japan. Just 3 minutes. That's all it took. For a single man to steal 300 million yen. With no gun, no violence, and without a trace. On Friday, December 6, 1968, the branch manager of the Nippon Trust Bank, known today as Mitsubishi Trust Bank, was sitting in his office in Kokubunji, Tokyo, going through his mail. Among the letters, he came across one that sent a chill down his spine. Its contents were nothing short of a direct threat. The message demanded that 3 million yen be prepared and delivered by a female employee to a specific location the next day at exactly 5 p.m. The warning was clear. Failure to comply would result in his house and the entire branch being blown up. Terrified, the manager immediately contacted the police. A sting operation was set up with nearly 50 officers waiting at the meeting point. Hours passed, but no one showed up. Authorities eventually dismissed it as nothing more than a hoax, closing the case quickly. Still, the manager couldn't shake off his unease. He warned his staff to remain vigilant, especially since it was the end of the year, when employee bonuses were handed out in cash. On the morning of Tuesday, December 10th, 1968, just 4 days later, at 9:30 a.m., a Nissan Cedric left the bank's garage. Inside were 4 employees. In the trunk, 3 metal cases, each containing 100 million yen, for a total of 300 million yen in cash. There was no guard or escort during the transport of the money. Instead, it was carried in an ordinary passenger car. A practice that was common at the time as it drew less attention. Their mission, to deliver the money to Shibara Electronics Factory, known today as Toshiba, to be distributed as year-end bonuses to workers. As the car made its way through the rain, a white motorcycle suddenly appeared. It was ridden by a man in full police uniform. He signaled for the car to pull over, and the driver complied immediately. The officer rushed over with shocking news. The bank branch and the manager's home had just been bombed, and there was a possibility that their car itself was rigged with explosives. Panic struck the 4 employees. Could the terrifying threats from that letter really be coming true? The officer ordered them to step out for their own safety. Shaken, they obeyed. He carefully checked inside the car, opening doors, inspecting seats, then crawled underneath to examine it further. Suddenly, thick black smoke poured out from beneath the vehicle, and a small fire ignited. The officer shouted, waving his arms frantically, "Get back! The car is about to explode!" The employees ran in terror, hiding behind a nearby wall, their eyes fixed on the vehicle. But instead of an explosion, the officer calmly got into the driver's seat, started the engine, and sped off with the car. At first, the employees thought he was moving it away to protect civilians. Minutes passed, but the car never exploded. When they rushed back to the scene, all they found was a discarded road flare. His motorcycle had been poorly painted and fitted with fake police gear. Only then did the horrifying truth sink in. They had been tricked. The man was no police officer. He was a mastermind who had just stolen 300 million yen in broad daylight without firing a single shot. Tokyo police immediately declared a state of emergency. Roadblocks were set up everywhere. They were certain the thief wouldn't get far. But to their astonishment, he had vanished. It was later revealed that he had switched cars multiple times at different locations, using tarps and misleading evidence to throw off investigators. Thus began the largest investigation in Japanese history. Over 110,000 people were questioned. More than 6 million fingerprints were manually compared. The cost of the investigation reached 900 million yen, nearly triple the amount that was stolen. Yet no suspect was ever caught. Police were left with only one lead: the testimony of the 4 bank employees who had looked the thief directly in the eye. Based on their descriptions, a composite sketch was made of a young man in his early 20s, calm features, but with piercing eyes. The sketch was plastered across streets, newspapers, and posters throughout Japan, but it led absolutely nowhere. At the start of the investigation, police received several reports from citizens pointing to a 19-year-old young man who bore a striking resemblance to the composite sketch released by authorities of the criminal. This young man was the son of a police officer, and as the reports kept coming in, suspicion around him grew until he came under the investigators' watch. But suddenly, a shocking event occurred. The young man committed suicide in a tragic way, swallowing deadly cyanide and dying before undergoing the procedures that had been planned. Bank employees were about to meet him face to face to confirm his identity. The timing of his death only fueled the suspicions further, convincing many that he was the real culprit. However, after reviewing forensic evidence and tracing his movements on the day of the robbery, police later declared him completely innocent. Even so, his mysterious suicide has remained a puzzle that continues to raise questions to this day. In 1988, exactly 20 years later, the case was officially closed due to Japan's statute of limitations, meaning that even if the thief were to step forward today and confess on live television, he could never be punished. More than half a century later, the nation of Japan still wonders, who was that man? Was it a lone genius or an organized gang? And what became of the money? Some believe that the young man who took his own life was either the real thief or part of a small gang, and that he chose to end his life before the police could reach him. The only undeniable fact is this: in just 3 minutes, with a flawless plan and fearless execution, a man stole 300 million yen and disappeared forever. To this day, the 300 million yen heist remains the largest and most mysterious unsolved robbery in Japanese history. Now, what do you think happened? Share your opinion in the comments.